Sunday Papers, podcast show with Greg and Mike. Sunday Papers sorts it out. Sunday Papers, podcast show with Greg and Mike.
Read all about it! Read all about it! Vaccines here. They're using it in England. When will it be here in New York City? In the Bowery, where I'm a paper boy.
So 2 seconds ago, you're like, that's what you're going to wear? This is fun for the podcast listeners who can't see us. But you look like a special, like grammar schoolboy who's dressing in Garanimals right now.
And you look like you're going to a Madness concert at CBGB, but you're underage and from the suburbs.
Look at me. I just woke. I didn't just wake up, but I rolled out of bed and prepped for this by looking at the depressing news stories. And that's it. Here I am.
Walk me through your hair grooming process. Like, what do you do for your hair?
Yeah, I don't do a lot at all.
Do you have a brush or a comb or something?
I don't do that usually. But get this. My hair's falling out like more than usual. Actually, it doesn't fall out. This is a long, slow losing battle. But I think I told you recently I went on Accutane.
What's that?
All the kids out there know what it is. It's an acne medication. I'm not taking it for that. I've gotten this thing. It's nice. I segued from acne into rosacea. So I get these cysts. I get these cysts under my. You had a great joke about that. What was that about losing?
So my hair is falling out, but I'm still maintaining my youthful acne. So physically, it's all really coming together for me right now.
Yeah. So anyway, the rosacea will bring on these cysts that start underneath the surface. It's gross. I won't go into it. And it turns out after you've tried a bunch of creams and all that stuff, Accutane's the way to go. So here I am in my 50s on Accutane. Okay, I had no side effects when I was on Accutane in my 20s. So I go on this hike. Halfway through the hike, I'm fucking dying. Like, my body is aching. Like, I start limping. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Anyway, I read the side effects, and it said there can be significant muscle and bone ache. Did you know bones ache?
No. I know when you get bone cancer, they ache.
Oh, God. No, I've always heard the saying. I thought it was a saying like, oh, my achy bones, my tired bones, and all that stuff. And bones absolutely ache. I did not know that. And holy shit, I couldn't even walk at the end of this. Thought maybe it was massive dehydration. Like, I couldn't imagine what it was. And then I look it up, and there are the symptoms. So I was relieved. But it also, hair falls out. So that's cool. Can't win. You can't win. Once you're past 50, you can't win.
Yeah, but the key is, Mike, just make a ton of money. You're in Hollywood. Nobody gives a fuck what you look like. They care about what you drive, what your job title is. If you can focus on that, you can let the rest of it go.
Yeah, get a sick car, but don't open the sunroof. My hair will blow off.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, make money. All right, good advice. That's what I'll do now. I'll start this week.
Shout out to Josh Pryor for that song. No, was it Josh Pryor? No, it was Jim Tripp. Jim Tripp did the song. It was trippy as always. He's submitted a couple songs. I believe he may have people in his basement. I'm not positive, but based on his music.
Do you mean a band or you mean slaves? Gibbs?
He may get the slaves to play music. I'm not sure. But they're in the basement.
Backup singers with ball gags?
Yeah, I mean, is it a doo-wop band or are they screaming back there? You can't really tell. Also, we want to thank the logo is from, I'll have to say it next week. I seem to have lost.
I like it because it kind of looks Christmassy.
It's very Christmassy. It's us with tigers.
Not that white tigers mean Christmas to me, but they do.
It could be James Woodachek. I'm not sure. He sends a lot in. Corrections from... We usually shoot the shit before we get into the paper, but let's just get into the paper so we don't go for 2 hours.
We're going to talk about the big news, and we're going to catch up on what we've watched. And you haven't traveled. Yeah, let's just get into it.
All right. So
Well,
corrections.
you had some. Oh yeah, go ahead. Never mind.
Hope you guys can find your way to Oz one day. I guess that's Australia, where Mike will need to pronounce it emu, not emu. Small correction. Sorry for being a dick. Herbert Hodgson. Or is it Hodgson?
Right, exactly. It's Herbert. That's good. I definitely went with emu. He got me there.
The crime rate dropped across the board 18 to 19 years after Roe v. Wade was passed. That reason got debunked, but I don't care. It coincidentally lines up, and that debunking was in my dumb opinion. So that's from Mark, who's in Maryland. You know, I did some research into this because I guess we mentioned last week that was we were talking about, I think, the crime rates going down in New York City and that it wasn't really all Giuliani's fault.
Not at all. The trend started before him.
But that was a theory that was put out, among other places, it was put out by Malcolm Gladwell. And it is debunked. It turns out there were a lot of other factors that led to crime dipping. And also, they found that the crime rate was dipping with older criminals, not the ones that would have been aging into it. They're saying most crime takes place people between 18 and 25. I think we should just put all people between 18 and 25 in jail. Nothing good happens from those people.
You see, this is where I'm smarter than Gladwell and all that. Did they look at the fucking parents of the who would have had 18 and 19-year-old kids and the crimes that they were committing, and now they have less pressure because they don't have some kid who feels unwanted that they have to put, and all of a sudden you have to put them in school or at least feed them and clothe them?
No, I mean, it's all totally logical, which is Malcolm Gladwell's thing, but it doesn't line up with statistics from other places like in Sweden, where they also had crime rates not drop after abortion had been decriminalized 18 years before.
Gotcha.
All right. That's from John Favreau.
We love that guy.
Yeah. Oh, no, that was from Mark. This is from John Favreau. Tonight's the Night, the song, never mentions the girl's age. Interesting that you made her 16.
Is that real? Is that right?
I don't know why I thought she was 16, but if you listen, and first of all, that song fucking holds up. It's one of those songs that I don't change. Freebird, don't change the channel ever.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I still listen to Freebird beginning to end every time, and I listen to Tonight's the Night every time. They're just masterpieces.
So Freebird, I turned off the radio for, I don't know, 35 years, something like that. Whenever it would come on, it was, same with Stairway to Heaven, right? But Freebird, I would just like, it's like, it's a lot, and it just was cliche, I felt, and I had heard it so much. And then I heard someone, it might have been the Muscle Shoals documentary that got me back into it. And, but I then, after not hearing the song for over, I know what it was. I watched one of those YouTube videos of a first listen. Yeah. So it's this inner
I saw that one.
That inner city guy.
The black guy. Yeah, he goes fucking crazy.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, is he Baltimore? I forget what city he's from. And he listens to Freebird, and that's why you watch them. If you ever have that, oh my God, I wish I had, at this point, had never heard Radiohead and was hearing them for the first time, So you live vicariously through these first listens, and they're called reaction videos. His reaction to Freebird, because Freebird, man, builds. And he even said at one point, he's like, is that two dudes playing guitar? But the best line was, he's really astute in breaking it down. And he goes, at one point he pauses it, and he's like, man, I don't know what that girl did to you in that relationship.
Yeah.
Because the guy, they're ecstatic that he's a Freebird now, just wailing. But I went back
he's saying he's just got to be alone. He's got to be alone. He's saying it.
But I took an unironic listen to the jam at the end of Freebird, and it's lunacy.
It's lunacy. Yeah.
It's really unbelievable.
Yeah, there's moments in music where it's just transcendent, where something like Jimi Hendrix's lead in All Along the Watchtower.
Yeah.
It's just there's things where it still takes me away every time I listen to it. Now I can't, if I tune in and the guitar jam is happening, I got to turn it off because I didn't take the ride from the beginning, and I can't engage halfway through. I got to start at the beginning.
And when you're listening to the jam, you're like, and that's what he did in that reaction video. It's like, well, where could they go from here? Because you're at 10. You're literally like, and all of a sudden it's like, you found an 11.
Yeah.
And then they find a 12.
Yeah. Right.
But it was really great. You know, the best, if I was more literate and well-read, I would have known this my whole life. But a great term to use when basically critiquing art or anything like that, like you just said, like with Jimi Hendrix.
Turn up.
That it feels inevitable. It felt inevitable. Like, in other words, that this was going to happen. It was in the ether. It just took this artist to then show it to us.
Yeah.
Or to play it for us.
Right.
Like the song Yesterday. Like, how was that not around for millennia?
Yeah.
You know, so
right.
just, you know, maybe a bad example, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you get it from, you know, music movements that are happening that are started with somebody new. You know, when you hear the Ramones and you just go like, how did a 2-minute and 20-second song with power chords about that's taking from what happened before? It's taking from surf music, and it's taking it, the energy of it, and it's, like you said, taking it to an 11 and a 12. All right, so let's get to most important thing today, my dates. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, Mike, but I haven't made much money. I mean, the podcast, we make some money, but I need to make some real money because I got 2 kids. One's in college, one's starting next year. I'm going on the road, and here's my dates.
So your first 3 dates, which you're about to list, are in states that just tried to have the Supreme Court hear their case to put Trump in for another 4 years. Go ahead.
And don't think my material won't reflect that. I will have on a MAGA hat. I will be in Indianapolis at Helium, January 7th through the 9th. Phoenix, January 21st through 24th. Kansas City, January 28th through the 30th. And then in February, I'll be at Portland at Helium. And then Sacramento Punchline in March.
Well, that one you're going to drive to.
Oh, yeah. You want to come up and do some time?
You should also drive. Maybe we should drive to Portland.
Drive to Portland. You can do sets on it is my second favorite club in the country. The crowds are amazing. My special, which is, if you can watch on Instagram, go to my Instagram account, and I'm putting out excerpts from my 1 hour special, 2 minutes at a time. It's the only place you can see it.
No,
it was taped there in
quite
Portland.
well. I see them on there.
Yeah, they're blowing up. It's crazy. It's crazy, Mike.
It's the new HBO.
It's the new HBO.
So, could we do this podcast on a Saturday night?
Yes, that's a great idea.
You think people would come see it?
I do. I think people will come. We'll do it like a Saturday at like 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. And, you know, and we'll get people. What I'll do is I'll say Thursday and Friday, I'll say, if you buy a ticket to the stand-up show, bring it, and you can get into the podcast for free.
I don't know how I'd get my closet up there, but, you know, once you have a why, all the hows fall into place.
Mike will be coming out of the closet.
Oh, I don't know about that.
All right, we ready?
Wait, did you finish all your dates?
Oh, yeah, and then I'm going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then San Francisco in April. I mean, look, who knows? Like you said, most of these will be canceled, but the ones that aren't, I'll be there.
But what a segue. Maybe none of them will be canceled because there's a vaccine. Let's do it.
Front page.
The vaccine is here.
Holy shit, it's here.
We hesitated doing this
it.
as the lead story because we don't have a lot of jokes on it, but we thought we'd be remiss. So immediately what we want to start doing is poking holes in it. The Pfizer chairman came out with one of the most asked questions, and sure enough, they are not sure if someone can transmit the virus after they're vaccinated. And that basically means people can totally transmit the virus, because do you know how hard, before they had the press conference, they tried to find a way to say, no, you can't transmit it once you get the vaccine? Like, that's so much of their effort was on that question.
This is like therapy to me. Like my parents, and my mom listens to the podcast, so I got to be careful what I say. My parents, they tried their best. They started parenting at a young age, and I feel like there were things that could have been done better. So I went
Is this where you plug your book?
So I went to a lot of therapy. I grew, I developed, and then I had my own kids, and I said, now I'm better. But then I noticed my parenting goes right back to what my parents did. Shame-based, guilt-ridden parenting, and I do it to my own kids, and that's like the vaccine. Yeah, you might get cured, but you're still going to pass it on.
Yeah, totally. The UK became the first country, obviously, to prove it, and now I guess it's rolling out here on Monday. There's all these questions on, how it can be rolled out. And then there's also the refrigeration temperatures and all that stuff. And then another thing, though, the Pfizer one has to be administered in 2 doses a few weeks apart. And then there's huge questions, which actually haven't gotten a lot of press yet, about who can't take the vaccine. And apparently, if you're sick or immunocompromised, there may be certain scenarios where you can't take it. So a lot of people have viewed this as, well, those should be the first people that get it. And that might not be happening. And then it leads to, even say everyone can take it, who are the first that are going to get it?
Well, who would you pick? If you could put your list, and I'm not saying don't be utilitarian, don't be a fucking martyr. Who would you, for your own needs in life, who would you give it to first and next and next?
Ellen DeGeneres.
Yes, that was the first one on my list as well.
Number one.
Because the world needs to dance and have a little fun today. Did you see her put her hands all over Billie Eilish, by the way?
No.
Billie Eilish was on the show. She was touching her legs and her arms. She just kept doing it. It was crazy.
And then I wouldn't give it to anyone else in case Ellen needs another round of it.
That's right.
So
and then
I'd
you got to give it
pause.
to her DJ, because the rapport, the interracial rapport, America needs that right now.
Yeah, I think so. No, seriously, who would I give it to? I don't know.
I would give it to comedians, because we have to go on the road.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Massage therapists, talk therapists, physical therapists, all the people that help me get through the day. I'd give it to you. I'd give it to you because Sunday Papers has to keep going. So podcasters.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have to travel to Sacramento with you maybe.
No, Portland.
Oh, I'm not invited to Sacramento? Okay, cool.
You can come to Sacramento, but I mean, Portland's a better club.
Okay, so, yeah, it's interesting. Like, obviously, they're going to come up with a metric. Listen, the rich are going to get it first, just like Bill Gates said this week. Bill Gates said the rich countries are going to be taken care of, or going to get it first. That's just how this world works.
Yes.
So he's very concerned and just gave another $250 million, by the way, towards the effort.
Wow.
No, to help poorer countries.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, okay. So I guess the rich countries are getting it. And then I know flight attendants, I saw that headline, were kind of asked, are athletes, did you read that they're high on the list?
Are they? All right.
No, I don't know.
I mean, I think they should be, because if you really think about it, the number of professional athletes statistically in this country, it's not a lot compared to the amount of relief and joy and jobs they create. I think that that's an industry that should be supported.
Well, there is definitely going to be, especially in this country and in all capitalist countries, an economic criteria. Like, what does the most good for the most people in a way?
Yes. Well, then that's going to be like people in meatpacking plants, obviously people in the frontline workers, people in hospitals and grocery
I think frontline workers
stores.
have to get it first. And then do you do things like restaurants?
Well,
and-
no, the biggest question
and
is
food
whether it's
stores?
frontline. The biggest question is whether it's frontline people or old people. That's the big debate right now. And, obviously, statistically, old people are dying at a far greater rate than anybody else. So do you go straight to them?
Or you just get those old people off their asses and put them in emergency rooms.
Yeah, right. Oh, I thought you were going to say put them in meatpacking plants and grocery stores.
Hey, Grandpa, you want a 10 bar down the street?
Hey, Grandma, grab this knife, Grandma. That's a rib. Whack it up.
Get on this unbelievably complicated register at Whole Foods, Grandma. then you'll get your candy.
Here's a quick one. Dogs are now being trained to detect people infected with COVID-19 by how, Mike? How are they doing it?
Well, according to the headline, they're sniffing their armpits.
Ah.
And it's I did read the article. It's sweat like related, but they sniff the armpits and they have a remarkably high accuracy rate.
And why are they sniffing my asshole? Are they looking for AIDS?
Your asshole really is the armpit of your body.
But I mean, really, why would a dog sniff my asshole? It's not like I get sniffing a dog's asshole because they're looking for the guy that took a shit by the fire hydrant. They want to know that he's in his territory. I get that. I'm not shitting on the street. It's insulting.
Why do dogs smell other like male dogs' assholes?
Because they want to. It's a territorial thing. I mean,
It is, right?
you look at animals in the wild, and they rub their groins and their asses against trees, and they mark the territory, and that's what your pets are doing. They're marking the territory, and then
he's looking at the cans of spray paint. Like, is that you that tagged that tree over there?
Right.
But what a job we give man's best friend. Like, hey, buddy,
Yeah.
you want to spend your life sniffing sick people? Not really. No, more than that. We're going to stick your snout right in their armpit. Have you
Yeah.
ever smelled a human armpit?
Right.
It's a treat.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. You definitely don't want to put them at fucking Air Italia. That's not where you want to be dissecting.
No doubt. Or most taxi cabs.
Yeah.
Not racist. I'm thinking of an old Irish, maybe it is racist, an old Irish cab driver.
All right, here we go. Let's talk about it. Mike, your story.
Lead story. Remember the Zodiac Killer?
Hell yeah! I just watched a movie about him last week.
I thought that movie was a little long. No, is that
It
my
was a
memory?
little long, a little unnecessarily long. I don't think that the number of people he killed justified the length of the movie.
Right. I guess he bragged at one point about killing upwards of 30, but I guess what are 5 attributed to him?
Just 5. I mean, not my condolences to the families of those 5 people, but at least if you have a family member killed by the Zodiac Killer, that's a good fucking story. As opposed to what? They kept clipping out pieces of intestine until he died bald and fucking feeble. No. He got fucking choked, burned, hidden. That's fun.
So they've never caught the Zodiac Killer. And so they don't know for a fact, but they do attribute 5 to him. But anyway, he would write these cryptic messages and literally puzzles, and he would send them in. And the news this week is a long-solved puzzle that he sent to the San Francisco Chronicle has finally been cracked by a team of coding experts. The so-called 340 cipher, a jumble of letters, numbers, and symbols, doesn't reveal the name of the still unidentified killer who terrorized Northern California in the 60s and 70s. And then, by the way, in 69, One of his cipher puzzles was cracked by a school teacher from Salinas and his wife, and the short little cipher said, "I like killing because it is so much fun." So anyway, this new 340 cipher.
That sounds like an 8-year-old's homework assignment.
That's what I mean. So the new 340 cipher that they were trying to figure out from 1969, I was wondering what it maybe said, like, Apollo 11 did not land on the moon. It's total bullshit.
Fake news.
John, don't marry Yoko. Holy shit, the New York Jets won. Don't hitchhike in Chappaquiddick when Ted's in town. Just saw Sharon Tate's new movie. She's going to have a long career. Those are all of his messages.
All from 1969. Look at Mike Gibbons popping 1969 into his Google search engine. Nicely done.
Oh, yeah, come on now. Nixon's going to make a great president.
Yeah. Stay the course with Vietnam. See a big win coming. Hey, it's 1969. If this is the summer of love, why haven't I gotten laid since 1968?
Why haven't I had sex with a living person since last week?
Maybe it's a horoscope. Maybe I need a Virgo.
So this is the actual it was international. The guys who cracked this code, because I thought, like, is it really that hard to crack? And apparently, of course, conspiracy theorists and everybody, but a lot of people are drawn to this, and tons of people have claimed to have solved it, sent it in, and kind of the experts who, I guess someone in the police department in San Francisco, but I'm sure I think at the university there too, I read, would reject some of them as being like partially solved or not all the way. These were 3 brainiacs from 3 different countries, and some of them were like algorithmic mathematician. Like, it was really, really intelligent guys that do this for a living. Anyway, the solution was this.
You sure it wasn't women as well? Because I think it was a couple. I think it was actually a couple that solved this. They're giving credit to the guy, but in the movie it was a couple.
No, the movie predated this. This was solved last week.
Oh, because one was solved in the movie.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm not saying a woman can't solve a layup easy one, like the one-sentence one. This is the complex one that needs men to roll up their sleeves.
And this is why we have female pharmacists, because doctors have such bad handwriting. The women are the ones that can solve the simple ones.
They can, exactly. All right, this is what it said. By the way, it's not thrilling. I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show. By the way, you saw that in the movie? A live show in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, a guy called in.
Claiming it was him, and it made everybody crazy.
Right.
That wasn't me on. And then one of his victims lived, I think 2 did, and they were brought in and said that's not his voice.
Right.
Anyway, that wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner. He always spelled paradise with a C. Because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life is. I know that my new life is. That seems like it should be a what. Life will be an easy one in paradise, death. I mean, think about how long it takes to code a cipher that can't be cracked for over 30 years, and this is what you write?
And you don't mention that he misspells paradise each time. He doesn't put correct punctuation.
No, that was his thing. He always spelled paradise with a C, apparently. You can't even hear my cipher when I'm reading it. Never mind crack a code.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's really what you're doing. Why not just send that uncoded? And then you know what it would do? We'd spend 30 years trying to crack this code. Like, what is this piece of shit paragraph really saying? Because that can't be it.
Well, no, because he was like the Kardashians of serial killers. He was all about being in the news, getting attention, being a celebrity. So this code thing just made it. I mean, he got a lot out of his 5 killings. When you think about like the Golden State Killer, who killed like 100, I don't know how many, like fucking tons. He was kind of a footnote. But the Zodiac Killer, Son of Sam didn't kill that many people. But he got the dog thing. He had an angle. He had a hook.
Listen, it's like all industries. Don't get into it for the fame. Get into it for the rewards and for the work and doing a good job.
Do the work. The journey is the destination. It has to be. It has to be, or don't do it.
Yeah. Don't get into that game. It's unrewarding. You have to do it for what you get out of it, even if nobody notices.
I know for me, when I lived in New York and it was so crowded, it started to make me feel tense and I got wound up. And so one night a week, usually on Tuesdays, I would slip into the darkness and I would take one human life. And it wasn't that I was mad at them or they were bad people. It just, you just felt this release.
Can you guess my favorite part of that joke?
What?
Try to guess.
Slipped into the darkness?
No, the detail of Tuesdays, which never changes. Never changes. That's always in there. You never change the day.
That's right. That's
I
right.
love it.
Let's do our next story, Mike.
You got it. I love this headline. It's tight. It's short. U.S. Marines won't stop taking LSD.
Why would they? Why would they?
America's 2nd Marine Division loves to trip balls. That's literally what the first line in the article says. I think this was at Vulture. The 20,000 Marine strong division in North Carolina and many of its members have been caught taking LSD. It's such a problem that the Marine Corps has begun to randomly test for the drug and publicly announced a crackdown on people taking it. A detail of that part of the story was that LSD wasn't on the test because they do drug test Marines.
Yeah.
That they were not testing for that.
First of all, wait, can we back up? There are 20,000 Marines just in North Carolina. Think about the fucking cost of that. That's insane. Yeah. Not only that, Marines get paid. They get paid pretty well. If you're a senior Marine, you make 6 figures. And a starting Marine makes about like 50, 60 grand.
No.
Yes, they do. 40,
do they
50,
really?
60. Yep. And because and then when they retire, they get 50% of their salary for the rest of their life.
Huh.
Not to mention subsidized loans. They have no interest loans. They get discounts on insurance, all this subsidized stuff.
You're making it seem like America takes care of its veterans and its military. We don't.
Well, in some ways we do, in some ways we don't.
All right. It may seem odd, but LSD has a long and storied history of use by American armed forces. At a military base in Wyoming, airmen in charge of launching America's nuclear arsenal love to eat acid between shifts. Monitoring the nuclear arsenal is a boring job, and to pass the time, airmen in charge of the nukes would get high. Quote, I absolutely just loved altering my mind, one airman said in 2018 when the ring of LSD buddies was busted. I don't know, man.
Well,
you can think a lot is wrong. When you're on an LSD trip, like, we told that story a few times of Timothy Leary testing in Cambridge, and he and another medical doctor tripping became convinced their dog was dead, and they were about to cut open its chest and massage its heart to save it, and the dog wasn't dead at all.
Right. More like Semper Hi. Come on, people. I mean, it is amazing because it is the opposite of the military mindset, of what LSD really does in freeing your mind. It's like, if we're all one consciousness and love and being and love are the same, why do we have ranks?
Yeah. But that could lead to pulling the button. Like,
oh yeah,
we really messed up this experiment that should have been about oneness. Here's some oneness coming your way.
I think it'd be the opposite. I think if they got the message from Trump to bomb Russia or China, I would think they wouldn't be able to do it if they were on acid.
Maybe they bomb Washington.
Right.
But all they have to do is detonate it right where it sits. They don't even have to launch it.
Yeah. Have you done LSD?
Oh, yeah.
Did you like it?
I did. There was one dead show in Giant Stadium. I came really close to freaking out, though. Word went around the stadium that when police saw that you were tripping, that you were a little bit out of control, and this is true. I mean, it's true that word went around saying this, and I think it was true. So I'm tripping, and word went around that if authorities saw you tripping, and like you were dancing, and if they asked you to stop, you didn't stop, whatever it was, if they deemed you out of control, they took you and they strapped you to a stretcher and just slid you in this big room and just slid the stretcher in there and just left it there.
Wow. No shit.
And they would get other people and do the same. Now, the weird thing is, now that I'm in my 50s, I'm looking back at that decision, and it doesn't seem as unbelievably crazy to me as it did then.
Yeah.
What they were doing was they were absolutely ensuring you wouldn't harm yourself and you wouldn't harm anyone else, and nothing physically was going to happen to you other than completely losing your mind.
Right.
Tied.
Next to another guy who's also losing his mind.
So all of a sudden I was like, keep your shit together. Like, don't have fun.
Yeah,
So it started to go really bad. But how I helped that was after the concert, everybody was still on the floor. And I was able to climb one of the walls of like the infield there or whatever and get in the first row. And then the lines were so long to get out. I then reached over and helped people up. And I did that for, I'm going to say 45 minutes. I just pulled people up this wall. And in some way, I guess I envisioned myself like helping a refugee boat, like have people off it. Like I was saving lives.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And that felt really good. And then I went outside to the Pasta school bus. You know what that is, right?
What's that?
Well, part of the Grateful Dead show that toured was the Pasta bus. And it just gave out free pasta at the end of the show to people to eat. And
wow.
it was just
that's amazing.
It was comforting in every single way. Not only the nutrition, the food, but just that people would. It was kind of like me helping everybody off the floor of the stadium.
Well, I'll tell you, man, you can make fun of deadheads and dead shows all you want, but if you didn't go to one, you just shut the fuck up, because it is about peace and love and generosity and community. They were the greatest experiences in the world. I went to a bunch of dead shows.
Oh, I went to a ton, yeah.
And yeah, drugs was a part of it, but I think it was the right use of drugs. I think it was being used in a way that made people appreciate each other. And I think that the music was the kind of music that was so freeform and creative that it brought out, a lot of feelings in you that was very illuminating. I thought they were amazing.
And always the problem was they ended too early because you're still tripping. That's why you head out to the Pasta
and
bus.
they were 4-hour concerts, and they still felt like they ended too soon. But
no, they were really long. But at one time, just to show you a different mindset in college, Colleen. So we helped Colleen move, and one of the things that we didn't get into her place that was still like in one of our cars was a giant beer stein. The big German beer steins that was filled like with pennies and change. So this will illuminate what stage of life we were on for a few reasons. So we were starving and wanted to order pizza and didn't have any money. So we were going to pay for the pizza with all this change.
Yeah.
So we had just been moving all day. We poured the beer stein onto the bed and all the change popped out, and all these tabs of acid were in the beer stein. And they popped on the bed. There was like a little row of them. And nothing was said, and we looked at each other, and we immediately grabbed them and put them in our mouth.
Yeah.
No conversation about what do you have going on the rest of the day, or even what day is it? Like we just, we're tripping.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I I never took acid, but I used to sell mescaline, which is basically acid.
You went from not doing acid to being a dealer.
Well, it's a long story, but my funniest experience with it was I waited till I was 16 till I took it, because all my friends were dropping acid when they were like 14 years old, 15 years old, and I was like the good kid, so I waited. I hung out with the craziest kids in town, like all the derelicts, it was all people that had older siblings. Those were the ones that had access to everything and who were, basically trying to be as crazy as their siblings. So 16 years old, me and another girl named Eileen, I won't say her last name, we took mescaline, and then we went to this kid Lachlan's house. His name was Lachlan McAllister. He lived down the street from me, and he lived in a house.
Wear a kilt?
Well, his sister's name was Lala, and his brother's name was Hamish, and his name was Lachlan. And so we go to their house, and I'm not making this up. They lived in a castle that had been Tiny Tim's house before they bought it.
And it was in the Highlands.
And it was a fucking... And so we go over to their house, and we had always wanted to go to the house because it looked so magical, but we were never allowed in. It was so weird because they had all this space, but we were never allowed in. And then one night, Lachlan goes like, okay, my parents are away. You guys can come in my house. So we come to the house. No tour, no like, hey, go wherever you want. It was like, everybody follow me, and we walked into the smallest fucking room in the house that had a TV. There was like 15 of us, and we were like packed in the floor. And then I'm now peeking. I'm peeking, and Eileen is peeking, and we're sitting there, and we start laughing about their names and the fact that we're in a castle. And then all of a sudden, this little furry Scottish terrier comes in. And I look at Lachlan, and I go, what's your dog's name? And he looks me dead in the eye, and he goes, Fred. And we fucking lost it. We could not. We were asked to leave the house. After a half an hour where we were still laughing, and we were asked to leave the house.
That's amazing. Fred. And it's a Scottish Terrier. That's great.
Hey, Mom. Let's get to international.
Do it.
Well, if you are walking down the beach and you see a big clump of something, you may want to stop and pick it up. Whale vomit is rather rare, but it seems to be happening too often on the shores of Thailand. A down-and-out Thai fisherman struck gold as he toppled upon a huge lump of whale vomit at a beach in southern Thailand. Weighed 37 pounds, and it is worth, drumroll please, $3.2 million.
What?
The perfume industry considers whale vomit a prized possession.
Huh.
And and it looks like it hardens into like almost a rock form. But I mean, look, that's serious fucking money. We need to find some female whales and body shame them and get them to have bulimia and then just clean up, baby.
How has Japan not cornered this market with all their whale killing?
Yeah, right.
I mean, think they'd trap some of them, and make them watch something really gross.
Or make them join a fraternity. Honey.
Totally.
And also, what is with why is whale blubber, I guess? No, I guess the throw up smells better than the blubber because they use it for it's like, honey, you smell amazing. Like lavender and, is that a hint of decomposed krill?
That's what it's called.
Is that the
a
high
little
note?
Decomposed krill behind the ear, just a little behind that ear.
There's a book by Tom Robbins. You ever read any Tom Robbins?
Yeah, he kind of has a little bit of an activist Florida thing in his books, right?
No, you're thinking of...
I Am.
Yeah, you're thinking of
what's his name?
Carl Hyacin.
I am. You're right. Sorry.
No, Tom Robbins wrote like Only Cowgirls Get the Blues, and he has this book called Jitterbug Perfume, and it's about this perfume that I guess perfumes have a base and a middle note and a high note, and so there's a magical combination of those three things that gives you eternal youth. And so the book is about, like, in ancient times, somebody found it, and then somebody found it in, like, the 1700s, and now there's a modern person in New Orleans who stumbles upon it. It's the fucking greatest book, and it makes you so... his description of perfume and how they make it and the physiological properties of perfume, it's really fascinating. Highly recommend it.
Nice.
It's time for some Florida, man.
Oh, here it comes. Is there not a paper? I don't have a paper. I don't read it.
This paper's so old it barely crinkles anymore. I gotta get a fresh paper in here.
Here we go. The Florida man we're talking about today, Tom Brady.
Oh, boy.
Tom Brady has announced to the world that I think he basically said he'd rather be dead than spend another winter in the Northeast. He's loving Florida. And so he just bought a $17 million house in Miami next to Ivanka Trump. It's on Indian Creek Island, which is known as a billionaire's bunker. He also
Gross.
Faced huge backlash this week for buying a $2 million yacht after his company's called TB12, received a Paycheck Protection Program loan of almost $1 million.
What a piece of shit.
While 52% of small businesses that applied for that loan didn't get any.
He sucks.
Tom Brady is worth 200. That says, is that 200 million?
200 million.
By the way,
not only that, his wife is worth more.
You know, I think I have to think he's worth more than 200. I mean, he's getting 20 million for just his Tampa Bay, I think, contract.
Yeah,
anyway,
I know his wife. Chris, why don't you look up what his wife is worth? That's our producer, Chris, if he can peel himself away from the QAnon website.
Yeah. He was living in Derek Jeter's house in Tampa this whole time, but he's just douchey.
He's douchey. Not only, well, he did a thing. I work a lot with the Best Buddies, which is a group that helps people with intellectual disabilities. And I have to say, he was a spokesman for them for many years. And he worked his ass off. And he just heard she's worth $400 million. So he...
Why did they apply for a loan?
It's gross. And so, anyway, so he decides he's going to peel off and start his own foundation in his own name, which is fine. He did his time with the Best Buddies. Good for him. But then the Boston Globe broke a story that he solicited and received hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Best Buddies to seed his new foundation.
What?
Yes. I mean, they're worth $600 million. They got to take money away from people that are trying to find housing for people with intellectual disabilities, to give them job skills, to let them live on their... I mean, it's fucking... He is gross.
25 million Americans are hungry. I don't know the right word, but that is what I had read, that are literally... whatever the termination is, where they are food challenged right now.
No, is it challenge? Yeah.
Just... like, how about having the awareness, like, maybe I don't buy this boat this week. Maybe I wait a couple of months till this craziness somehow dissipates, hopefully a little.
Yeah. What's amazing is he's fucking gorgeous. He's a world-class athlete. He's got a beautiful wife who earns. Like, what? Why do you need more? Why would you take that fucking loan?
No, I know. The taking the loan, also, like, doesn't he have he must have, obviously he has a business manager, but some sort of manager. Clearly he doesn't have a friend talking to him about this, but it's like, dude, the most overused word right now, but the optics on this are not good.
Yeah, right.
The Sunday Papers podcast is not going to have it.
That's right. These guys, when they're not talking about whale vomit, are going to focus in on the socioeconomic implications of the PPP program.
Yeah.
By the way, this just in from Chris. The Marine infantry salary. So the 10th percentile, whatever that means, makes $48,000 a year. 25th percentile makes $61,000 a year. 75th percentile makes $85,000 a year.
I wasn't really listening. What happened?
So infantry makes between $50,000 and $85,000 a year in the Marines.
Huh. I'm really
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's not as clear cut as that. Do they subtract for like housing and green clothing?
I don't think they do subtract for that. I think that they pay for their housing.
Oh, it is in many ways a 24/7 job though, right?
Now look, I am not
Never mind the
I'm not
dying
criticizing how much I forget how did this come up in the first place? Or we're talking about them taking acid. But no, I believe that
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was that there were 20,000 of them in North Carolina.
Right. No, I'm just looking at the sheer mass of money that's spent on the military versus other countries. I'm not begrudging anybody that wants to put their life on the line to fight for this country, to be separated from their loved ones for possibly years. They deserve everything we
Possibly
can give
life.
them. I just don't think there should be as many of them.
Yeah. Okay.
I got to plug my computer in.
I just got a text from our buddy Matt Malloy.
What'd it say?
That their friend, was trying to go out an Airbnb to Palm Springs. This Airbnb and VRBO thing is, I won't go into it now too much, but it's a real problem. Like people, because what happens when the laws change and they block people from short-term rentals, especially Airbnb, the owners keep the money.
Oh, no shit.
Even though the people have not, some have canceled because of guidelines, that's a problem. But it does say if you cancel, but many don't cancel, and that's where the problem is. And like Riverside County out here in Los Angeles, that's where Palm Springs is, and there's a lot of rentals in that county for everybody, not only LA, but lots of people. For the West, Palm Springs is a lot like Florida, especially for like Minnesota and all that. A lot of old people and snowbirds go to Palm Springs. And anyway, there's a huge short-term rental situation there, and it's blowing up now.
Damn. Weren't you going to go away for Christmas to Palm Springs?
We were trying to, but then I read the fine print that I wouldn't get my money back. I'm like, wait. I go, listen, I won't cancel because I'm not flying in. So I said, what are you telling me here? If I show up at the door, but Palm Springs has outlawed it, am I going to get in? Like, in other words, is this going to be a standoff? Like, who's going to cancel first?
Yeah,
I go,
right.
So what if I win that standoff and I don't cancel? And they said, the door will be locked and you won't get your money back.
Yeah. Right. Unbelievable.
So,
These are the issues we're faced with today. Let's talk about entertainment, Mike.
Let's do it.
What'd you watch this week?
Man, I told you I was going to watch that Heaven's Gate documentary.
Yeah.
I forget. I always confuse Apple and HBO. I think it's on HBO. And it's about that group. It's the largest mass suicide on U.S. soil ever. And we talked about it last week because we talked about Ted Turner and his comments. So it was interesting. I can't remember if I had seen it by last week. But anyway, did you watch it?
I did not.
It was interesting. I didn't realize how long before the suicide had happened, and it was decades. And the cult was doing well for a while before it. Anyway, that was a fun documentary. Now,
they're the ones, they're the Nike, they all wear Nikes?
Yeah, they were all wearing Nikes and hoodies, peacefully laying in their bed, and they did it in tears. And I guess there were 3 waves.
You sure it wasn't rednecks from Florida shot them because they were wearing Nikes and hoodies?
By the way, this happened in 97, sort of ahead of their time regarding fashion.
Right.
Because that's all I see now.
Yeah.
So I hope when they did get on their spaceship that they got some props for that.
Yeah.
Like, was the spaceship like, whoa, did we go to 2019? Because you guys look very 2020, if you don't mind us saying. We've already seen 2020.
Right, and you're all taking opioids. You're all killing yourselves. We should get a taste of this.
And you've rented a house, like an Airbnb.
Yeah.
What year is this? This can't be 97. So that was good. But I have to say, we'll talk about
Was there
other things.
fucking in that cult?
Huh?
Was there fucking? Was the leader
No.
getting laid?
No, because the lead guy turned out to be gay, and he was very adamant about it. So he, in fact, kicked out a really attractive gay actor because his vessel was meaning body, was very attracted to that guy's vessel.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was interesting in that way. But I don't want to spoil it. So there's some definite things that are...
That's such a typical thing of like, somebody goes like, yeah, I got thrown out of that club. For what? Being too good looking.
Yeah. Well, it hurts. You and I both have that pain that we walk around with.
That's
It
right.
hurts when it happens over and over and over again.
I think Ellen kicked me off the show because she was too attracted to me.
Probably. Yeah.
And because I stopped going to production meetings. It was one of those two things. I can't remember. It might have been that I used to play ping pong outside of her office, and when the score was 9-11, I would sing a song about 9/11. I'm not sure. It was that or being too good looking. I can't remember.
You also would do your masturbation, Big Mac, and which included a giant spit in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, that's right. I might have been unhappy and looking to get fired. Who knows?
At that point, you were still viewing her as a fellow comedian who had a sense of humor and could roll with behind-the-scenes humor.
Yeah.
So, but listen, my strongest recommendation this week is I watched Bryan Cranston's new show, Your Honor, on Showtime.
Yeah.
And there's only episode 1, but I don't throw this word around too much. It's pretty great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go. There have been lots of great pilots, don't get me wrong, but this sets up a lot. And I liked it a lot.
You know, Showtime, which was a nothing network for so long. I mean, they had shows, they had Homeland, but then that kind of ran its course. I thought Billions was a good show, but people didn't really jump on board for Billions. And so I canceled it. And as soon as I canceled it, they got a bunch of great shows all of a sudden.
They have that Couples Therapy, which is also something I was going to mention, and they just came out with an hour special, but I have to finish Couples Therapy. I talked about that a few weeks ago. I really like that podcast, or that show. I told you, real couples with a real therapist filmed, and where it's the art of the obvious.
Why would you possibly put that out to the world? Like, don't people have to go to work on Monday? Do you really want everybody in the office to know that you have like erectile dysfunction or your wife has rape fantasies? Like, why would you talk about that shit on TV?
I don't know, because there must, I don't know if there's situations where it's like they talk about something and then they like look to the producer like that can't go in, or they hold back and don't totally go there, kind of like me in therapy. They don't totally go there because it would be embarrassing.
Yeah, they should have a show, Irish Therapy, where just nobody says anything. They just cry a lot.
That's also well, waspy therapy doesn't exist. They don't go to a therapist.
Right.
They just make another martini and just push it down
Yeah.
till their children commit suicide.
Here's what I watched this week, and I highly recommend watching the show, but don't watch it with your 17-year-old daughter.
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
I
What
saw
is it?
Big Mouth. Well, there's no bigger proponent of Big Mouth. I think it's one of the best shows made in years.
You had him on your podcast
Nick Kroll.
before it aired.
Yeah.
You then sent me a link to the first episode or something, and you out of the gate loved it.
I just think that nobody has tackled that pubescent stage in a comedic way before, and it's fucking smart, it's funny, it's edgy, it's original, the characters are amazing, but it has gotten so dirty. And I'm watching with my daughter, and it's all about masturbation and fucking and, really graphics. There's a big thing about the vagina and how to make a woman come, and there's a big cave, and there's a bell at the top you're supposed to ring, and they're rubbing it, and then water gushes out. And I'm just sitting there next to my daughter going, this is a fucking nightmare. I didn't laugh once.
Did you say nightmare?
Yeah.
Huh. You wouldn't go with the standard mare?
I have a number of words that I don't know why I say them wrong, but I say farhead.
What?
I say farhead.
Did you have a nightmare in Philadelphia or somewhere in Pennsylvania? It sounds like something they'd say.
I lived in Philly for 2 years when I was a kid. I might have picked up on it. I also say
Did
milk.
you really?
I say milk also.
Was your dad a DJ there or something?
Yeah.
I didn't know that chapter.
I lived in the Bronx until I was about 5, and then we lived in Ohio for a year, in Youngstown, Ohio. And then we lived in Philly for like 2 years, and then we moved back to New York.
I lived in the Bronx till I think I was 1. And that was enough. I got it.
Yeah, time to get out.
Boogie Down Bronx was just kicking in. Hey, wait a minute. What was the milk one?
Milk.
Like an MELK?
I guess so. Yeah, milk, farhead, and what was the last word I said?
I don't know, but you started off with nightmare.
Nightmare.
Nightmare?
Nightmare.
Does everyone correct you on it?
I've never been corrected on nightmare, but I get milk and when I have jokes where I say farhead, and I see people, because you're very aware when you're on stage of how people are reacting to your jokes, and when I say farhead, which I have a couple jokes that say farhead, I see people whisper to each other and smile. Like, what did he just say?
Now, what about changing? Like when I learn I'm pronouncing a word incorrectly, which happens more often than I'd like to admit, I change it.
That's why you lost your Bronx accent, Mike.
I try to pronounce it correctly.
I can't. I feel like I don't care enough to.
Huh.
Like, who cares? I'm a little bit different.
Well, if you had more far thought in it, you would perhaps change the way you fucking think about it.
Look, you're really
right.
milking. You're really milking this bit, Mike.
In golf, do you scream far when you shank one?
I don't even know where that accent. Where do you think that derives from? Is it you think it's the Philly, not the Bronx?
It sounds like it's coming from the part of your brain that's stubborn. Because why the fuck is it still in there?
I'm gonna work on it.
Anyway, what? Yeah, well, you're watching Big Mouth with JoJo. What? He'd be like, JoJo, can we switch over to a cult that all killed themselves? You'll like what they were wearing. It's kind of hip.
Yeah.
It's like a hip hop suicide, except they're all white.
Yeah. I'll buy you the Nikes and the hoodie. Can we just change the fucking channel right now?
My daughters won't go there. I told you.
They won't watch Big Mouth?
Oh, no, they won't. Olivia won't watch anything that is remotely like sexual or even referring to it. Like,
no shit.
Oh, no. We can never find something to watch together. And then when we do, Olivia then ruins it. Like, it'll be like, hey, what about Shawshank Redemption? She's like, hold on. She'll go, like a parent, she'll go on Common Sense Media and she'll look up and she's like, no, there's a rape. I'm like, there's not a rape in Shawshank Redemption, Olivia. I go, you have to be kidding me. It's like America's darling film. And I guess apparently at one point you hear, I guess, prison rape in the background.
I live in Venice. That's just going to sleep at night.
And I'm like, everyone throws the word rape around. Couldn't it have been prison consensual sex?
Sure. Right.
Clearly there's a lot of that.
It could have started as a rape.
Or end as one.
The
Much better build if it ends as one.
Yeah. So that's, as a father of a daughter, that's got to make you feel pretty good, though.
That I don't watch prison rape?
I mean, she's going to stay away from sex until she's maybe 21. Isn't that great?
I don't know. All right, I'll depersonalize this, but I wonder about that. Like I was kind of a late bloomer, and you were not. You were having sex when you were 11 or something, but when you're on mescaline in a castle, and you covered up with some bullshit story, but the pressure builds, and I'm wondering out loud if, like, might a stupid decision happen just to get it over with?
Yeah.
You
Right.
know what I mean? Or just I feel sorry for walking around with that pressure. And in today's world, it's so much more difficult than when I was a teenager. Like, in today's world, it's like, I mean, everyone's getting laid in music videos. They're getting laid in every song that's popular. Like, it's just everywhere. And never mind, the dick pics that are flying around. Like, sadly, my daughters are telling me, like, if I think the dick pics is an exaggeration in Euphoria, it's not that much of an exaggeration. I'm like, what? Like in high school.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, why wouldn't kids do it? It's just like they're just desensitized to sexuality, to drugs, to everything, because all they do is watch TV. We didn't watch this much TV. And when we watched it, we sound like two old men, but they really are desensitized to sexual stuff. And I think it's great that Olivia's not doing that. I mean, I think she's a very independent girl. She's really something, and I love that she's got those boundaries for herself. And I don't see it coming from you or Liz. You guys don't seem like you're kind of suffocating parents in any way.
No, I let her have a drink last night. She's 15, but I'm like, this kid's got to loosen up.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. All right, what else do we got that we watched?
We got
Bee Gees documentary. Bee Gees documentary came out.
Yeah, that comes out when? Today?
This weekend. It comes out this weekend, so I have not seen it.
Cannot wait to see it.
It's going to be feel good. The early Bee Gees, also, by the way, early Bee Gees, where they sounded like the Beatles, are really, really comforting.
Oh, yeah. They started out as a rock band and also like a country band. Barry Gibb, who's the last one who's left. I think the rest of them are all dead, including their brother Andy.
He is the last one.
And so I read this great article in the Times last week about him. And he always considered himself a country musician. He grew up on bluegrass in Australia. They grew up in England until they were a certain age, and then they moved to Australia. And they really dug bluegrass, and they were kind of like this rock band. And then Barry Gibb found that falsetto sound, and they moved to Miami, and they were produced by a disco producer. And he said, "Try this." And I mean, I fucking hated the Bee Gees when I was in junior high school, hated disco.
Same.
I saw it as an assault on rock. I saw it taking over the airwaves. Rock stations were turning into disco stations. And, but I always had a guilty pleasure because I saw Saturday Night Fever and I was kind of blown away by the music. And now that I'm older, I am in awe. They had, at one point, Barry Gibb, He wrote songs for Andy Gibb, their brother as well.
Yeah.
In 1 year, and I think it was 1975, he had 7 #1 songs that he had written on the Billboard charts. 7 #1 songs. 5 of them were from Saturday Night Fever, and 2 of them were Andy Gibbs songs.
There's an album out there. I couldn't find it on Apple, but it's called Bee Gees Gold, which is their early hits, which is like words, like It's Only Words,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, I Started a Joke, all these songs which are
All ballads.
incredible.
Yeah.
Huh?
All ballads.
They're all ballads, and they're really, really cool. So I'm psyched to see that anyway. It is sad. He's the last one standing, and I think it's going to be, very sad when he goes because they are of such an era. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think they really, and I think the film deals a lot with this backlash of how much people hated disco and how much they hated them. And here are these guys that were like legitimate musicians and legitimately had been playing in bars since they were 15 years old. They were the real deal. And then they had to fight that stigma for the rest of their careers.
Yeah, and they, all their fans are in it. Timberlake's in the documentary. I saw him in the trailer. So it should be pretty good. I'm psyched to see that. Wait, what else came out? Oh, I'm kind of weighing how much I'm going to hate the Prom.
What's that?
The Prom is, it just got released on Netflix. I think it's on there right now. And James Corden is in it, who's, a friend of mine. And what's her name is in it?
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep. And a bunch of other stars.
Now, there's another female star in it. Is it Liza Minnelli?
I don't know. That doesn't sound familiar. But, they all help someone regarding a prom. But I don't know. We'll see. I did go see Cats in a theater.
What's weird is I think it's based on a bunch of like washed up Broadway actors, but Corden looks younger than he actually is. So the one clip I saw, I kind of was bumped like he doesn't look like he's the right age for this.
Why? What age do you think he is?
In real life, I would say he's 40.
He is, I think.
Yeah. 60 Minutes did a fucking love letter to him on the show last week.
Oh, you mean his parent network where he has huge deals?
Oh, interesting.
No, 60 Minutes is usually above that. But listen, I love the guy. He has an amazing fucking face, man. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Very few people, male or female, who are as overweight as he is, strike a face like that.
Yeah.
Like he could, he does ads. He can do ads featuring his face, unironically selling a product.
Yeah.
So he looks different than he is in many ways. So sometimes he can look really, as you said, younger than his age also.
He was, I mean, you know this, but most people don't know. When he was in England, he had like the #1 sitcom for years, came to New York, won a fucking Tony on Broadway.
Yeah.
I mean, he had quite a career before he took over this show.
So I talked to him about the sitcom. We'll just do this because it's very interesting for one reason. He was starring on Broadway in, what's it called? The Boys. I forget the name of the play. Shit. I think it was an Irish playwright. Oh, fuck. It's so bad I'm forgetting. Anyway.
Was it a musical?
He was in it. No. He was in it, and he was in it with a very overweight woman as well, and it's just abysmal that I'm forgetting her name. Anyway, she's the one in Gavin and Stacey. So he said to her at one point, so what happened is everyone would want to come backstage and see the especially celebrities and people in the industry want to see them, and go backstage and congratulate them as is done on Broadway. And they would all, of course, go because they were very funny to them, and they would go to the other cast. And the only difference was when everyone was talking about, okay, we want to set up a meeting with you. You were great in this, all this. The deal, they never got deals signed. It was all talk, and the good-looking people got the deals.
Right.
Who were in the cast.
Yeah.
And so he went to her one day. He's like, we're going to have to meet our career in the middle. We can't wait for it to come to us.
Yeah.
So we have to write something. So while they were doing their 9 shows a week or whatever Broadway is, they would go back to their like little rented apartment and they wrote Gavin and Stacey. And this is the ingenious part.
This is all back in England, by the way.
Well, this was on Broadway that they wrote it.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then Gavin and Stacey, the way they did it, it was like a Trojan horse. They had a good-looking couple, and that was the show. Gavin, they were having a long-distance relationship. She was in Wales, he was in England, and they finally were like, well, we have to meet. And they each brought their best friend, who were the overweight people.
Right.
And they were the sidekicks that eventually became the main thing in Gavin and Stacey.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
How smart is that?
amazing. Wow. I love it.
So there you go. I probably got some of that wrong.
What do you think Sunday Papers is for our careers? This is us meeting the industry halfway. I got to sit here and watch Paul Scheer get roles with that fucking gap in his tooth. What about my gap?
This is all about getting Chris, our MAGA producer, his career. That's what's going to happen here.
That's right. We need to get Chris in a position where he can get the message out. Wink, wink.
The new last man standing, but way more political.
Mike, let's get to sports.
Let's do it.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a bye week. However, your outstanding balance from our bet this year is $50, which is incredible. Incredible. It just shows you the bookmakers know exactly what they're fucking doing. I mean, we are, 13 weeks into the season, 12 weeks into the season, and you're only down by one game.
They're amazing.
This coming week, though, I think you're going to drop another one. They're playing Minnesota. They're giving Minnesota 7 points, but they're playing in Tampa Bay.
Huh.
But now
I say like any of that means anything to me. I could care less. Just beat them by more than 7.
Will Tom Brady drive the yacht to Minnesota is the big question.
Wait, you said it was in Tampa Bay?
It's in Tampa Bay. Oh, right. There we go.
And they're giving 7. That means Minnesota, because what I've heard, again, I stopped following sports around I'm a Jets fan, so you do the math. But like 4 years ago.
Jets still have not won a game this year.
It's unbelievable. So I heard a very general way to approach it is the home team starts off with +3.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's what I heard.
And I think that's adjusted for which home. If you're playing in Denver, it's probably +5 because the visiting team's lungs are not used to playing at that altitude. So it's that much harder. I think it's also, is it Seattle that has the really loud stadium where they really fuck up the other team with their cheering?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm also wondering if it's not 3 points now because of fans. Now, some of it is you're traveling, so you don't have your home base and all that stuff. But some of it has to be just the energy in the stadium. So I wonder during the pandemic if it's still 3. Hey, right. Another thing I heard of which was interesting was some guy I know was convinced of course this will probably be debunked easily, but those Christmas Day games that happen in the NBA over the years, he always bet on the visiting team because the home team just had to be annoyed leaving home. They're at home, the kids are there, everything, where the visiting team was already fucked.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, well, we're winning this if I had to come to goddamn Phoenix on Christmas Day.
Well, then that would also give Detroit an advantage because who the fuck wants to go to Detroit? Think about how bummed out you would be to spend 2 days in that fucking city. And if we have Detroit listeners, I know you guys are coming back. Got it. Buy a warehouse,
like Detroit.
Get some paint.
They're such underdogs. I love Detroit.
We should mention also there's Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul are going to fight in February.
Yeah, so I don't know much about these guys because I don't like them, even though I don't know much about them. But the Paul brothers, so one of them just fought in the undercard of the Tyson night, and he won. And but now his brother Logan Paul, who's a YouTuber, who I guess is 0-1. I think he lost a fight. That's what Chris was telling us. He lost a fight to another YouTuber. So what's the next logical step? Why don't I pick a fight with arguably the best fighter on the planet.
Maybe of all time.
Maybe of all time. And so I don't usually buy these pay-per-view fights. I never do. But if this is being, the way I would build this fight is, how much would you pay to see a YouTuber die? And the answer is I'm paying. I don't even know. I don't even need to know what the price is.
It's one of these fights where you go like, all right, if they're only paying $1 for every $10 you bet, still a great bet. Bet $10,000 and make $100.
Right.
Just do it.
Except that there's some lame draw. I mean, I wonder, like, some people don't have that instinct of feeling sorry for an opponent. Like, I'm always surprised in MMA. It's like they will pound the guy till they're pulled off him. Like, completely would kill him.
Yeah.
Some don't. I've seen some, like, look at the ref like, you're stopping this, right? You know?
Yeah.
And they're usually pretty fast on it. But some just, you're in that moment and you're just destroying. Like, I was never that way. Like, I to a fault, always played to the level of my opponent, whatever it was I was playing. Like, you know?
Is that why we tie in tennis, even though you're probably a better player?
Oh, yeah, I shouldn't tell that to you. I play you in paddle. But anyway, I will be watching this fight, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Let's do some science also.
Okay.
What do we got?
Well, it's an interesting headline that grabbed my attention. China turns on nuclear-powered artificial sun. China successfully powered up its, quote, artificial sun nuclear fusion reactor for the first time, the state media reported, marking a great advance in the country's nuclear power research capabilities. It uses a powerful magnetic field to fuse hot plasma and can reach temperatures of, wait for it, over 150 million degrees Celsius. Oh, Celsius. That's probably like 62 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the People's Daily. It's approximately, okay, here we go. So in this building where they're doing this fusion, the temperature reaches approximately, it gets 10 times hotter than the core of the sun.
Wow. You think they squint a lot now?
Which is less hot than that joke that you just let fly.
Do you think, I mean, look, the Paris Accord, not going to be happy about this. Another sun? How about China? How about make some clouds? Maybe some smog. Go back to making smog instead of another sun.
I would normally be alarmed by this, but China's pretty good at keeping wraps on dangerous things and not letting them spread.
Yeah, this will never get out of the laboratory.
Yeah, I think this is going to be fine.
Right. Yeah, just make sure that they don't expose a bat to this. Don't let any bats inside the laboratory. Or those little armadillo-looking things.
But this is, it's summing up like a bad superhero movie where it's like, okay, here comes China. What's their secret weapon? Oh, they have something hotter than the sun.
Right.
Really? Shoot, we just had these things that would really hurt your ears and disable you. It's hotter than the sun? Their weapon? Huh.
Yeah. If we go to war with China, you're going to need bulletproof vests, helmets, and SPF 20,000.
Good luck, Hong Kong protesters. Remember you used to hold up your umbrellas for tear gas? Now they have the sun. Oh, my God.
SpaceX launched the shiny new bullet-shaped, straight-out-of-science-fiction Starship several miles into the air from a remote corner of Texas, but the 6.5-minute flight ended in an explosive fireball at touchdown. It was the highest and most elaborate flight yet for the rocket ship that Elon Musk said could carry people to Mars in as little as 6 years. Despite the catastrophic finale, he was thrilled. Mars, here we come, he tweeted.
Everything about this sounds like U.S. Air. 6 years. The flight takes 6 years, and it's a disaster.
Right. Maybe the tweet should have been, halfway to Mars. Here we come.
Hey, how long's the flight? If it makes it? If it makes it, it's 6 years, but it could be way shorter than that.
According to the test, closer to 3 years. I think they should schedule for the 4th of July.
By the way, it could be a minute.
Yeah, don't worry about the seatbelt. This is beyond seatbelt.
Don't bother. She just gets up there, the flight attendant, like, you know what? Don't bother. You're good. Everyone's fine.
Excuse me, sir.
6-year flight. Wow.
Sir, would you like a drink? No, I don't drink. You sure you don't want a drink? Might be time.
Well, this has all that sci-fi element in it. Like, is there a way to go to sleep for the 6 years? How many movies? How many movies do they have on that flight?
Should we do business or this day in history?
They're going to run out of ice. Wait a minute. I haven't even put the math together on a 6-year flight. 12 years, and they can't the flight can't restock when they're there. How is this even possible?
Oh, no, it's one way. My understanding is the flight to Mars is one way. You set up, and you stay.
And you live?
That's my understanding of it. Which, by the way, the atmosphere of Mars is like 200 degrees below zero. It's uninhabitable.
I don't know. Is it that? Well,
maybe let me say so we don't get too many corrections. It's 50 below. It's 50 below zero.
Is a Chinese sun considered carry-on? Can you bring a sun to Mars? Would that maybe mess up the solar system?
I love that we're saving the Earth by destroying the rest of the universe.
You're not bringing any weapons on board or any fluids or any concealed, fuels of any sort. No, just this sun. I'm just bringing a sun with me.
One guy comes on. He's got one of those gallon containers of gas. Kind of hoping to come back. I thought maybe I could help out.
I have a note. This is an emotional support sun. It just calms me down, and I get less jittery because it's a sun. Oh my God! But then you stay there. How are there supplies for staying there? I couldn't even figure out supplies for a 6-year round trip.
They found, one of the articles I read found a plant that they can grow in the space capsule that they can live off of. It's a protein-based plant that they can live off of. Just got a text from our producer, Chris Denman. He says,
don't wear masks and...
The election is a fraud. Oh, no, this one. It's negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the atmosphere of Mars.
Sounds doable to me.
Yeah.
I've easily been in negative 20s in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Not easily. That's a weird word. I have been.
Should we do business or this day in history?
I think we're going to skip. The business story is just Oracle.
Yeah.
Like seemingly everybody else is leaving California, like Joe Rogan, and moving to Texas. We'll do it next week.
This day in history.
Oh, this is infuriating.
Vice President Al Gore on this day in history concedes defeat to George W. Bush in his bid for the presidency following weeks of legal battles over the recounting votes in Florida on December 13th, 2000. In a televised speech from his ceremonial office next to the White House, Gore said that while he was deeply disappointed and sharply disagreed with the Supreme Court verdict that ended his campaign.
Almost everybody disagreed with it. Go ahead.
Quote, partisan rancor must now be put aside. I accept the finality of the outcome, which will be ratified next Monday in the Electoral College. And tonight, for the sake of our unity as a people and the strength of our democracy, I offer my concession. He telephoned Bush to offer his congratulations, honoring him for the first time with the title President-elect.
He should have added, I'm also incredibly sorry to all the civilians who are going to be killed in an unjust war in Iraq, to all of the American soldiers who are going to be sent there to this unjust war. I also want to apologize in advance to all the poor people of New Orleans for when Katrina comes. And the president will do fucking nothing.
Can you reach your microphone with that soapbox? Do you have to bend over?
This is just reminding me of how livid I was that Bush became president, and then shame on this stupid country that he got in there a second time. By the way, losing both popular votes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And you know, this Florida bullshit, again, listen, no matter what side you're on, we can all agree on one thing. The Republicans sue to stop votes being counted. That's what happens in every case, and that's what happened in this one. And it won by 5-4 because that's how the Republican line was drawn in the Supreme Court.
well, I think the bigger picture is you saw a candidate who chose country over party. And he said that democracy and the belief in elections is more important. And it's the same thing with when Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon. He said the well-being of the country and the belief in us having our shit together in front of the rest of the world is more important than one person's, legacy after his presidency. And giving Nixon a break.
I get that, but when you let war criminals in there, and I'm not throwing that phrase around loosely at all. I mean, even Bush and Cheney had a rift in his second term because Cheney was so unbelievably, it was just perverse, the international policy and, the going into the war and how it just benefited us financially. It's disgusting.
Well, we're going to get a lot of letters from this. Speaking of which...
And the environmental rollbacks, let's not forget that. All of them under his administration.
Here's some letters that came in last week. Gentlemen, Norm MacDonald said it perfectly on his podcast talk show. Norm, in this case Greg, hey, which football players do you think are gay? I asked that last week. Guest, in this case Mike, contemplates the question. After a few seconds, Norm brilliantly pipes in, I think it's the two guys sucking each other off. I guess he said that on his talk show. That's perfect.
Well, again, it's one of those, Norm, like, he loves not being sarcastic, and he then says, the actual thing.
Yeah.
Which, when he finds those that are funnier than a sarcastic take, it's the best thing ever.
That's when you, as a comedian, that's when you just feel like, my God, my mind is stuck in one algorithm, and I need to fucking shake it up a little bit.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. This is from Lars Eric Pearson regarding Ted Turner and his TV empire, which included WTBS. They broadcast every Atlanta Braves game. WGN has the Cubs.
Oh, right.
Fun
of course,
fact,
it's Atlanta.
Turner set all his programming on TBS to begin 5 minutes past the hour. For instance, MASH reruns began at 7:05 because Turner's position was to allow for viewers to start and reject other shows within 5 minutes, and they could then switch to Turner at 5 past and watch the full show. Also, he's the third largest real estate property owner in America.
Wow. So, I don't know about that theory about the 5 minutes past.
I think it's the opposite. They started doing it with the late night talk shows because the news would
go 5 minutes over.
Yeah, they would always start 5 minutes over so that the news could do like I don't know, what was the thinking behind that?
I don't know, but I was at late night when we were trying to decide that because you can determine when you're a late night TV show. Well, all shows kind of determine, even scripted ones. You can determine when your commercial breaks happen. And that's why Letterman's show was so impossible to watch the end of it, because they would double up a commercial break because ratings would stop, I think, after the fourth commercial pod. So the earlier you could have that fourth commercial pod, the better your ratings would be in late night because of attrition, because of people turning off the TV and falling asleep.
Which was great as a comedian because a comedian was always act 7. And so before you came on, there was like a fucking 9-minute commercial break. It was
Impossible.
brutal. Yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah.
He would do his commercial. He would come back in for they called him a cluster buster, and they would show like 54th Street or like Sunset in New York, and then go right to
Yeah,
2 more minutes
right.
of commercials.
Well, SNL does that also with they come back and they show you they try to break up. You know who used to fuck with you also was on Mad Men. Remember they used to run commercials on Mad Men and it was done in the same aesthetic as the show. It was like men in 50s suits and they did it looked like Mad Men. So you would stop fast forwarding and you would land on the commercial.
You're an early adopter, so you watched it on AMC.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I've never gotten past season 2, which I know I should. But yeah, I know. So I never saw it then.
Here's a new segment that I think is a new segment. I can't remember if it was on Fitzdog Radio or it was on this show, but we solicited people in the audience to send us where's the weirdest place you ever took a shit.
So wait, let's just pause. And ask people, did we ask that question?
Did we ask that question? Because I got the mail. The problem is my email address serves both podcasts. So when people started writing in their stories about where they took a shit, I think it was for this show. But if it was not, it is now. Here it is. Who Gives a Shit is the name of the segment. I just thought of that 2 seconds ago.
Okay.
First one comes from Rob. It's funny, nobody gave their last names on this. After leaving Queens to move to Nyack, New York, across the bridge from you, I went to Boy Scout camp one summer. Fucking hated it. Camp Bulliwa in Stony Point. The head counselor was such a douche. At the entrance were 2 statues of Boy Scouts, and between them was almost a metal trestle with a Camp Bulliwa sign. I climbed up onto the trestle and took a shit from it. We then picked up the shit with a stick and threw it at the sign and the statues. Fucking idiots. Wow, this kid didn't like camp.
That's the least disturbing Boy Scout story I've ever heard.
Did you listen to The Daily last week about the Boy Scouts?
I
Dude,
heard
they molested way more boys than the Catholic Church ever did.
Well, of course. The priests, you think the priests are gonna
What? Say it.
No, that's the joke. Like, they're disgusting animals.
Yeah.
At least maybe the guy raping you in a tent doesn't believe in a literal devil and virgin birth. So,
right.
So maybe you could comfort yourself. You weren't raped by a complete lunatic, just an absolute sexual deviant who should be put to death.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
don't
think
know.
that
Yeah, all right. So that's where he took a shit.
If you're a little boy and they say to you, okay, you want to join this group? Put on these tight khaki shorts and this little yellow handkerchief around your neck. Don't worry, nothing weird's going to happen in the woods.
It's like pedophile lingerie.
Yes.
Put on a little neckerchief with a clip and then a little hat to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
climb into, you can rub together.
Climb into this tent that's sealed off, that's pushed off into the woods. Oh my God. We joined this thing when I was a Boy Scout when I was little, but there was no camping trips. As a matter of fact, my mom was the scoutmaster.
Huh.
Were you in the Scouts?
Not hers. There was a lot of what she would do to you. There was a lot. Does she listen to the whole podcast? No, in a weird way. I think I did Cub Scouts.
No, that's what I did. I did Cub Scouts, not Boy Scouts.
Those are like the little blue uniforms, but like tiny kids.
Yeah.
I don't think I made it very far.
No, fuck that. And I always see, whenever I saw an Eagle Scout, you ever see those Eagle Scouts and they're like, that's like the fucking, it's like the Green Berets of Boy Scouts. They're like, you see them, they're like 17, 18 years old. They got mustaches, but they're still wearing the little shorts and the handkerchief. It's like, dude, fucking just join the Marines at this point. Grow up.
No,
you look
at
ridiculous. Yeah.
That's scary though. Yeah. But I don't know. Do you think this Rob guy, this is one of those veiled memories? You sure the statues were too inanimate, people? that you got between and took your pants down.
And
then
when
felt
something was in your ass, it wasn't a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'll ask him because if this is the Rob that I think it is, he's in a band and has contributed a song to the show and is coming to see me in Phoenix. We're going to hang out.
Never mind, Rob. You weren't raped.
This one comes from Steve. He says, at a high school party, I shit in a clothes dryer, pulled the door down, shit on it, slammed it shut, and turned it on. Let me ask you something. And I used to do this. I used to have parties at my house in high school. Why? What's the upside? Your house gets destroyed. You got to clean it up. Good chance you're going to get busted by your parents. You're not getting laid.
It's a definite you're going to get busted.
You're not getting laid because you're trying to keep people from shitting in the dryer.
No, you're also not getting laid because people are already fucking in your parents' bed.
That's right. I mean, it's such an insane idea. We once had a party, and this kid, Dave Vada, pulled a knife on another kid, and there were 3 people holding him back from stabbing him. He was fucking crazy. And it was always like the pool table got fucking a bottle of rum poured on it. And it was just, and for what? I was nervous the whole time. I didn't have fun.
And look at the crowd you run with, and you wonder why the Scottish castle never put down its drawbridge and invited the Fitzsimmons in.
This one comes from Seth. Maybe 5th or 6th grade, friend and I were at a church camp.
Oh, God.
Kids were playing, and someone had taken off their socks and shoes. My buddy took a crap in a kid's sock and put it in one shoe, then wiped his ass with the other sock and put it in the other shoe.
It's a nice story.
Now, you wonder if this was a church camp, did the counselors find this and say, nobody touch anything? This is divine intervention. This shit came from God. He wiped his ass on your tube sock.
Maybe his image of his face is in that shit sock somewhere.
Now come with me deep in the woods so we can talk about it. That's combining both things, church and camping. That's a giant red flag.
Oh, what's that documentary? I haven't seen it, but it's high on my list. Was it God Camp? What's the name of it?
I don't think I saw it.
It's about Christian camps. Oh, yeah. I think it's still on Netflix. I have to see it. Jesus Camp, I think?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll try to see that by next week.
Obituaries.
And that's all, folks.
Now, of course, hero Chuck Yeager, who broke the sound barrier and was a great American, hailed by all. We're going to skip him this week and go with Squiggy.
Loved Squiggy.
David Lander, a Brooklyn native. He was from Lenny and Squiggy. And his comedy partner, Michael McKean, created their Lenny and Squiggy characters while they were acting students at Carnegie Mellon University. Gary Marshall hired them, brought them on the show. They were on it for 8 years. Landers then went on to appear. Ready for this? Everybody thinks his career ended. He then went on to appear in The Love Boat, A League of Their Own, Star Trek, The Simpsons, Bold and the Beautiful, Scary Movie, Bob Newhart Show, Barney Miller, Happy Days, Married with Children, Twin Peaks, Mad About You, Pacific Blue, The Drew Carey Show. This guy fucking worked.
No, true. I don't want to poke a hole in that. I think I would have liked to have seen him get more work in terms of like a steady gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, they were all guest appearances, which don't pay a lot of money. Hopefully he made his money on Laverne and Shirley. But I'll tell you what, there were a couple episodes of Laverne and Shirley where he did a band. It was him and Michael McKean were Lenny and the Squigtones.
They're on YouTube. They're so funny.
They're so fucking funny. And they used to go out after the show ended. They used to go out and play concerts as Lenny and the Squigtones. And it's almost like Sha Na Na with more of an edge. And Michael McKean could play guitar. He's a good guitar player.
Michael McKean is so impressive. You know what is really impressive about Michael McKean is that, especially as a kid, but I would have lost all my money betting on if one of those two, Lenny or Squiggy, broke out, all the money was on Squiggy.
Yeah, right.
you know, and that's a testament to like, because McKean could not impress me more comedically, you know, and also, you know, his acting. He's just a heavyweight.
Yeah. I mean, in
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul. I mean, he must have won an Emmy on one of those seasons. Just
but how
amazing.
About you have Odenkirk, you have a Saturday Night Live comedy writer who then was in a crazy, absurd sketch show on HBO playing the lead character, and his brother is Lenny from Lenny and Squiggy.
Yeah, right.
And it's riveting drama.
Right.
Like sad, too.
So he died of multiple sclerosis, died young, and
Dude, fighting it for the longest time.
And by the way, that Lenny and the Squigtones, they featured Christopher Guest on guitar, who was credited.
They did an album.
They did an album credited as Nigel Tufnell, a name Guest would later use in the spoof rock band Spinal Tap, which had Michael McKean in it.
I want to read his book. I'm reading here the details that he came out with his autobiography in 2002.
Yeah.
Fall Down Laughing, How Squiggy... This is the title of the book. Fall Down Laughing, How Squiggy Caught Multiple Sclerosis and Didn't Tell Nobody. He was diagnosed in 1984.
Yeah. Wow. And he hid it. They say he hid it because he didn't want it to work against his acting career.
For people who didn't see Laverne and Shirley, there was a thing that they did every week where Laverne and Shirley would be in a room and they'd be having a conversation, and and every week I would try to call when they would burst in the door. And by the way, that burst in the door is very much like Kramer.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. Very much.
And it would be like, hello. And it was always
but it was
like
always like it was always like Laverne and they would be cleaning out the garbage disposal, and Laverne would go, "Look at this fucking goop. What could be more disgusting?" Hello.
Yeah. What a crap day. How could this day go any worse? Hello. And hysterical.
I would even go back to Ed Norton on The Honeymooners. He used to make those entrances also.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Ed Norton it's unbelievable seeing what that guy could just physically, just in a conversation in a depressing honeymooner's kitchen. The guy was unbelievable. Art
Carney. Let's do it. Let's cheer up now.
Oh.
Let's do the funnies. This thing is like a wet rag at this point. We want to thank our friend at GS Artworks, who's all the way in Germany. Big fan of the show. He made a comic strip, a Beetle Bailey comic strip of me and Mike. And I'm not even going to read it. I'm going to just say go to our website. Or if you're not watching us on YouTube, goddamn, you're missing out on my freshly shaved dome and my 8th grade shirt and Mike's fucking Night at the Roxbury shirt.
What? I'm wearing a long sleeve gray shirt. That's it.
Pretty gay. Hager the Horrible this week.
I'm going to take that as a insult because I know that's how you use the word gay still.
Although I would say that shirt is gay is maybe the best insult you could get. Or your abs look really gay. Well, thanks.
I wish
gay
my
guys
abs
have
looked
great
gay.
abs.
Yeah.
That blowjob was really gay.
All right, what do we got?
So Hager's sitting at the bar. There's a hot redhead with freckles. I know that's a oxymoron. Sitting in between Hager and his sidekick. You know, his sidekick has that like weird hat. The woman says to Hager, "I love a man in horns." Hager looks at her and says, "Ready for this? I'm spoken for." And then she looks at the other guy and goes, "A funnel, not so much," because he's got a funnel upside down on his head. Now, let me get this straight. Hager's at the bar because they're celebrating a good take. They just raided a castle, took some jewelry, maybe some silverware, and raped everybody. But now he's at the bar, and he's spoken for. What is this, road rules? Does he have road rules and home rules?
Okay, I had a different interpretation. If you look at his body position and his arms, which are underneath, I think he is currently raping someone under the bar.
I see it. I totally see it. Yep.
And that's what I'm spoken for means. Like, give me a minute should have been it.
Yep. Yep. He could say, I'm sorry, I'm not into consensual sex.
And maybe the name of the woman he's raping is Horns. So she says, I love a man in horns.
Ah, there you go.
No, but then and then he should say, give me a minute. Rape.
Now, if you want just fucking great comics, the Lockhorns. Do you enjoy them as much as I do, or am I overplaying this?
I think you enjoy them more, but I do think it's good.
All right, here's one. Loretta is standing
Both.
with her hands on her hips. Leroy is walking away, fists clenched in anger. And he goes, if I know how to push all your buttons, why can't I find the mute? That's a fucking great line.
Yeah. It's weird to see someone actually writing jokes.
Yeah. His name is Reiner. Something in host Reiner? Is that what it looks like?
I don't know. I can't read that.
I put 2 in because I like him so much. And now you've got Loretta holding her phone up, snapping a photo of Leroy, who's standing there, who's got a big fat belly. And she says, I'm taking a picture to show you the next time you ask why the grocery bill is so high. That's what I like about them is like she counterpunches. For every time he shits on her, she shits on him. It's very even.
Yeah. We honestly don't have to spend much time on it. I'll just read it and let's just move on. Family circus. The mom is looking down at the little dumb daughter, and the dumb daughter's looking up and says, Mommy, where is my anatomy? And it's just, it's the first part of what maybe could be a joke if there was a second part, I guess. That's all.
Second part could be, that's a complicated question, honey, but don't ask Uncle Ernie when he's visiting next week. That's it.
I'll take that. I'll take even any attempt at humor.
Blondie this week is sporting a knee-length mauve skirt. She's got on an emerald green tight sweater, sleeves over the shoulder, but the arms. And I don't talk enough about Blondie's arms. They are thin, but again, the forearm is shaped like the calf. It's got a nice dissension to the wrist. It gets narrower. The bosom is heaving. He always gives you a nice. It's the last frame. You get a nice side shot of the boob. And she walks into the room. Of course, fucking Dagwood, for a change, is reading a book instead of watching the goddamn TV. And of course, she's up. It's always she's up on her feet. Dagwood's sitting on his ass. And she walks in with this beautiful terry cloth robe. It has the letters CB on the chest. Honey, look at this beautiful personalized robe I found on sale at the mall. Dagwood says, wow, it's a real beauty, sweetheart. He says but my initials are DB, not CB. And she says, it's going to look wonderful on you, dear. Then she walks away and goes, trust me, you'll get used to it, CB. Which, first of all, again, we're seeing Blondie come into her own in the last few weeks.
Maybe.
Because she had it engraved, and you know what the C stands for? Cuck. Cuck Bumstead. That's who he is.
Maybe, you know what you'd like in the last frame is her walking away like, maybe I'll find a grateful man whose initials are CB.
That's right. Cock Bumstead. All right, listen. We've done it again. Mike Gibbons, we've said a lot.
Long
By the way,
podcast,
congratulations to the great Howard Stern, who just signed up for 5 more years. So I don't have to cancel Sirius.
Is there a way to, do I have to get Sirius, or is there a way just to get Stern on an app?
No, there is a Sirius app, but you got to sign up for the service. However, they are generous when you call them up. They always have offers that expire after 6 months. Not expensive at all. As long you just got to, Do your work.
Even when they wasted all that money on Oprah?
Did they?
Oh, they gave her the biggest deal, and then she didn't work.
Wow.
Didn't she have her friend host on the Oprah channel?
Of course.
I think Howard Stern went off on it for, 8 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he got paid again. He generally gets $100 million, or didn't he get $500 million at one point?
He's a Palm Beacher, man. He gets paid.
He gets paid, cashes those checks.
All right,
Well, listen, we want to thank, as always, Midcoast Media, who does a fantastic job. Chris Denman is he's out there spreading the word about Sunday Papers, among other things, and Beth Hoops and all the other people. And I'm forgetting, Chris, I'm sorry. I always forget our editor's name. Will you put it up on the text message so I can say it right now?
Can she put together some of our words to form her name and just cut it into right here?
The editor is, it says key. What does key mean?
Huh?
He wrote key and then he wrote ha ha. That's her name. Key?
Well, this isn't good that you don't even recognize her name, you disgusting animal.
Oh, Kieris. Kieris. I thought we had that guy who was out working with rock bands when he wasn't editing our show. Who is that guy? He's gone?
Oh, who? COVID Bill?
He's out working with rock bands. Okay, so Key is our girl.
That sounds believable.
Key, you do a great job. Thank you for your work. Christmas gifts are coming, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
I forgot to sign my name on the gifts, but just know, thank you guys. Hello?
Take it, Ish.
Take it easy. Bye-bye. Stay safe.
To Sunday Papers podcast show with Greg and Mike. Sunday Papers sorts it out. Sunday Papers podcast show with Greg and Mike.